welcome to a brand new episode of the podcast entitled Couch Potatoes Unite! Exclamation point. This is a podcast based on a blog of the same name because once upon a time, I didn't see any need or reason to change it, really. I am the blogger in question and the moderator of this podcast. My name is Kylie and I love TV. If you feel the same, keep listening and or checking out the blog at couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com as you're bound to find some common ground or something you like. For at Couch Potatoes Unite, we're all about the wonders and the unique long-form storytelling of the small screen. CPU, exclamation point, wants to wish you a Happy New Year and hopes that your 2016 is going swimmingly so far. We also hope you have been following releases of brand new episodes throughout November, December, and January, and we have several more new episodes on the way. As always, though, because the panelists and I have to live lives behind the podcast, including shoveling our driveways during this very late arrival of winter, the episodes are being published once per week in mini-seasons, kind of like The Walking Dead. So subscribe to the blog or the podcast via iTunes or Stitcher Radio to stay on top of brand new episodes. We have several episodes already published discussing Downton Abbey, Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Forever, Game of Thrones, Orange is the New Black, and How to Get Away with Murder. We've taken a look back at True Blood, Ally McBeal, and the X-Files, and more episodes are in the works concerning the new X-Files miniseries, revisiting Doctor Who and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Gotham, Daredevil, Futurama, and hopefully many, many more. If you don't hear your show in this podcast format, though, check out the blog. Fellow panelists and I still write reviews, and we're always seeking new panelists. So if you have any interest in joining the discussion, say hello. We have a Facebook page, a Twitter, follow us at CPU Podcast, and an email address at couchpotatoesunitepodcast@gmail.com. Of course, you can always subscribe to the blog, our YouTube channel, our iTunes channel, or our Stitcher Radio channel and leave comments and reviews. We love feedback, but not the microphone kind. That's just annoying. Today, we're around the water cooler and discussing the first half of Season 5 of Once Upon a Time, which airs September through May Sundays on ABC. The 5th season premiered on September 27, 2015. Once Upon a Time, or Once, is a fantasy drama wherein storybook and fairy tale characters are not only real, but are living in this world, away from their enchanted kingdoms and worlds beyond reality. The show is set in fictional Storybrooke, Maine, as well as in the Enchanted Forest, the fairy tale kingdom from where most of the main characters originate. The action takes place primarily in present day, though there are flashbacks to the characters' past lives before they were whisked away to Storybrooke by a curse wrought by the evil Queen Regina, played by Lana Parrilla, and before they were made run-of-the-mill real-world residents with serious bouts of amnesia. For a more detailed plot summary, listen to prior podcast episodes about Once Upon a Time, or check out other Once entries on the blog. If you didn't already know, you can click the floating box at the top right of the header, the picture with the TV watcher, and search for any blog entry or prior podcast episode, which I think is a very handy thing. For now, our esteemed group of Once panelists, namely Eddie, Kristen, and Amie, have returned, ready and able to discuss the first half of Season 5, otherwise known as the Dark Swan arc, and to speculate on what the second half of the season, when our adventurers visit the underworld, might look like. Again, so much has happened to the heroes and villains of Once, the panel and I can't wait to get into the discussion, but before we do, I want to take a moment, as we always do, to take the panel's temperature. After all, as we all know, sometimes a TV show can take turns for the better, or the worse, at least in our heads, or could continue its level of awesomeness or lack thereof, depending upon its story evolution. As always, it should be noted that all of our panelists have viewed the entire show to date and will, let's face it, discuss sensitive plot points. So for those of you who are not caught up on Once, listen at your own risk, as there may be major spoilers. Well, hello, Once panel. How are you?
Hello!
Welcome back. Jeez, it's been a while.
It's been a hot minute.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while.
Those long, long droughts between seasons really get us. But that's cured now because we've gone through a half of the season so far, which we're going to be talking about very quickly here. But as I said, I want to take all of your temperature. Everyone knows if you listen to this podcast, this is a typical Couch Potatoes Unite exclamation point question. I'm going to ask you how much interest you have in the show nowadays. And for those of you who've listened to this podcast before, you probably know that I kind of send out some things to the panelists to think about. And I gave them similar but new choices to consider this time as far as their level of interest in the show. So, panel, what I'd like you to do is tell me how interested you are nowadays, okay? Do you watch Once Upon a Time because you just love the story and all of its unpredictability, like a good author would, even at least one of your moms is evil at all times, like Henry? Do you watch it because you love the family element, because you love your family, like Snow and Charming? Do you want it to be good because you want to be good, like Regina or Hook? Have you watched it this long and this unexpected development has kind of left you feeling a bit dark and evil, like Emma? Have you watched it this long but you've kind of lost your mojo, so you're only watching for tips and how to get it back, like Rumpelstiltskin? You can't believe you've been convinced to watch this long because you're kind of green with envy about all the love going on and you'd rather make mischief, like Zelina? Or do you feel that watching Once Upon a Time is a bit useless, not unlike your character Belle? Ouch. But let's face it.
Belle got the shaft this season, just saying.
Didn't she?
Bum, bum, bum.
So, how do you feel? Who wants to start?
I'll go.
Okay, Eddie.
Hello.
Hi,
So we all know that I love Regina, but based off all of this, I am a Henry. I love the story. I love where it's going. There's some aspects that need work, but in every good show there is always that. So I'm definitely a Henry, but I will always, in my heart, be a Regina because I love her.
Do you want to be good like her?
No, I want to be bad, but I'm not Zelina because I hate her. So I will be...
Fair.
Thank you. I will say that I am Henry and two moms. So funny.
All right. Well, welcome back, Eddie.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
Of course. Anytime.
All right, I will go next. Oh, this is a tough one. I would say...
I challenged you because this is the first time we've reconvened in a while.
I know.
And we're experts at this Once Upon a Time discussion.
We are. So I'm going to say I'm a mix of a few of them, as always. I'm going to say first, I love the story, but not its unpredictability, because I think it's getting a little predictable. So I'm kind of a Henry because I love the story, but I'm also a little bit of Emma because the predictability has left me feeling a little dark and evil about the show. I'm worried they're going to start getting into a rut if they keep using these memory loss curses. I feel they're getting a little repetitive. Yeah. And so I'm kind of thinking the show may have lost its mojo for a teeny second, like Rumpelstiltskin. So I'm hoping that they'll get it back and kind of get back to where they need to go.
So you're Henry, Emma, and
Rumpel. Yeah, I'm a complicated individual.
Clearly.
And you sound like a character on Once Upon a Time.
I should be.
That's true.
I should be.
You fit right in. Well, welcome back, Kristen.
Thank
of course. You. And last but not least, well, really that would be me, but Amie. Hi, Amie.
Much like Kristen, I am also a mix. I'm a little bit of Henry because I still love it. I do find some plot points unpredictable, but I will always love Once Upon a Time. But I'm also a little bit of Emma because there are some moments that I'm like, I'm not really feeling it. I'm not feeling the show, but I've watched it this long and I'm going to continue to do that. I can't say I'm a little bit of Rumpel, but now that she has said that, it makes complete sense. But my answer is Henry, a little bit Henry and a little bit Emma.
Well, welcome back, Amie.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. As for your moderator, Kylie, I am not a combination.
Oh.
I am one of these choices, and the choice would be I've watched this long, and the unexpected development has left me feeling a bit dark and evil, like Emma. We'll talk about this in a little bit, but I do love Once Upon a Time. Don't get me wrong. The first choice that I kind of tossed out with Henry is sort of the unconditional love option. Mm-hmm. Do I unconditionally love Once Upon a Time? No, not at this point. This season, this half of the season was engaging for me, but it also was not the best. And when I say that, there actually have been worse.
Yeah, I was thinking it's better than Frozen.
I was going to say, can we say season 4
it's
like
better than
A?
It's better than 4A.
It's better than
anything
Frozen.
is better than 4A
for sure. But it's still suffering, I think, a little bit from a late life crisis of what do I really want to do with it? And we'll talk about this in a second. But the biggest problem I thought about Once Upon a Time 5A is that there was so much going on that it kind of got convoluted at points. And I found myself going, well, okay, but we were just over here, and now what happened to these people? And did they completely forget about that development? And that's kind of how I was reacting a lot, which isn't to say that I didn't totally enjoy it, because I did. The Emma and Hook dynamic, I think, for me, was a real highlight, and we'll talk about that. But that's kind of where I'm sitting. I'm kind of feeling the dark swaniness of Emma.
It's really funny, you guys, also the Emma aspect. Like, I'm not almost an Emma. I'm an Emma on certain storylines, if that makes any sense.
Well, explain.
So, I am tired of Snow and Charming. Snow could die and be left in the underworld, and I would be okay with that. They're just so boring.
They're a little boring.
And I really hope...
They really are. I'm Eddie on this one.
See? Yeah. And I think they've gotten boring. I mean, they've been fine. I mean, season 1, I loved them both. But I want them either to disappear, which I don't foresee them disappearing anytime soon, or I want us to learn something new about them.
And something that's not, I've been keeping a secret from Emma. Oh, I've been lying to her. I have to tell her. Relationship exploded. I'm getting tired of that too. The memory curses and the hiding stuff from your daughter, that's been done enough.
Or just from each other.
That's true. They've hidden a lot of stuff from each other as well.
Yeah.
That was a huge dynamic this season with the whole David kind of getting up with Arthur and Snow finding Lancelot, which we'll talk about.
That. Right. Is it wrong when we met Lancelot, I was like, I kind of want Snow to get her some chocolate. Is that wrong? I was like, I would be okay if Snow cheated on Prince Charming.
She will never do that.
I know, but let me have my moment. That's what I was hoping.
Oh,
it would make the story better. Like,
we'll get to your moment in a minute.
Oh, we all know what my moment is.
With that said, brilliant segue.
Thank you.
So let's just talk about this. Let's start generally. For those of you who've listened to this in the past, this is how we do it. We're going to start general. And then if you read our season premiere blog post, where each of the panelists actually made some contributions in writing to what they wanted to see from the season based on the premiere. We had some predictions that were made by the panelists. We're going to be talking about a lot of those and see what's come true, what's not come true, what we liked, what we didn't like. So let's start with the whole thing. What did we think of this whole Dark Swan story arc? What did you like? What didn't you like? And compare it to other seasons.
I definitely liked the story of her becoming an evil one. At first I was like, okay, what are they really going to do with this? But in my mind, they couldn't have been as bad as last season. I thought last season was awful. Like 4A and 4B.
Oh, okay.
Good points in 4B, but I liked that they tried I think they're trying to bring Emma back. But what they're doing with Emma, I want them to do, I'm going to say it again, do with Snow and Charming. But I did like the darkness of Emma, but she did kind of fall back into the rut of her. She had to be the hero as well. And I did like that aspect of it, is that even though she was still this dark villain, she was still being a hero, all in the sense, even with her plan.
Well, because she was going dark for the right reasons.
Right. Correct. Which I thought was cute.
I liked this first half. I liked the idea of them exploring Emma's dark side and becoming a dark one. But I felt, again, the repetition of the memory curse. Again, this is the third time we've seen it in 5 seasons. It was too much. I understand why they chose to do it, but I felt it was also the easy way out. They could have done something a little more creative. But I would have really liked to see more of Dark Emma. I felt the flashbacks to Camelot were okay. Camelot hasn't been my favorite storyline. It hasn't been my least favorite by any means. Probably second least favorite. I don't know. I wanted more from the Dark Swan. I wanted them to really just go for it. Especially since we were now missing, Rumpelstiltskin as the Dark One for the first time. I really wanted Emma to go really dark and to just let her shine and be that evil villainess that we know was in there. I like how they did conclude it. I understand that she is Emma, she is the savior. She's going to go dark for the right reasons. I knew there was a reason behind it, and it made sense, but
it would have been interesting if we would have seen her kill somebody. Kill a major character.
And then maybe 5B would be her dealing with the aftermath. And
I mean, she could have killed her mom. I would have been okay with that.
Nothing's just going anywhere.
Show.
Technically, spoilers, listeners, technically she did kill somebody.
Technically she did.
And, now this is going to be going to fetch him back. It's not really dealing with the aftermath. It's just like her parents, I will always find you. So now we're going to go find him.
So the fact that she was hallucinating Rumpelstiltskin when he was...
That was cool.
Okay.
I quite enjoyed that. But I would have liked to see her transformation into the Dark One on a more pure scale, if I can say it that way. I would have just liked to see her just succumb to the darkness. Not, I'm going to do it, but only because I have to save my loved one's life.
It's funny you say that Rumple was in her head. I really wish it would have been Regina. I really would have wished it would have been the evil. I know that it was nice to have the evil Rumpelstiltskin on the show, and he made the purpose for being there, but I know that Regina's not a Dark One, so I think it would have been interesting to see how her being in her head, because those two are so close and connected.
But Regina would have had to have been a Dark One in order for that to make sense.
Right. But it would have been interesting to see
exactly.
To see Regina, the evil Regina, the hardcore evil Regina in her head instead.
You just love Regina.
I do.
He does. But on that, I would have loved to see a big throwdown between the Dark Swan and the good Queen Regina.
Right.
I would have liked to see Regina fight to save Emma. And I just think that would have been kind of a cool, besties, I'm going to fight for you instead of the true love element fighting for you. Just another spin on the whole true love that Disney's been kind of on. The true love between Emma and Henry broke the first curse. It would have been nice to see bestie true love between Regina and Emma break this curse on her. But
I was actually expecting more of a conflict that never actually
happened.
happened.
So was I.
Amie, what did you think about this?
Well, I thought it was interesting. I actually thought it was interesting to watch Emma go through the process of turning into the Dark One. In my mind, I thought it would be immediate, and now we had to watch her struggle with that, inside her head, inside her heart, and all of that stuff. I have to say, I didn't really care for Camelot either, but if that's the way that we had to examine and see that part of her story, turning into the Dark One, I guess I can accept it. I actually agree, though. I wish she were darker. And they kind of... I don't know, she still felt like Emma, but just looking a little different and with slightly different motives, but she never went dark enough for me either.
So, I wonder if it's because... I think we all three can agree that she didn't go dark enough.
Yep.
But are we comparing her being the Dark One to Rumple, though?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Because I don't think anybody can get as dark as Rumple.
I mean, I kind of saw her as in my mind, I thought it would be a mix between evil Queen Regina and Rumpelstiltskin.
Mm.
She didn't, and she just kind of was just an evil version of Emma.
Yeah.
Right? Which I get sense. It's who she is.
And what she truly was doing, she really wasn't evil.
Yeah, because again, she had good reasons for doing what she was doing.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. I was kind of expecting, and I was hoping for this, again, truly dark Emma, and I think they could have done a lot more with it creatively, and I'm kind of sad that they didn't, because in theory, we'll never get to see that again.
I think the worst thing she did is what she did to Henry. Poor boy.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second, but one of the things that I actually wanted to see, and I wrote about this in my quarter of the blog post at the top of the season, was the idea of someone getting a hold of the dagger that controls the Dark One. What would that have looked like from the different characters' perspectives? The only external character other than Arthur that had control of the Dark One dagger at any point prior to that sort of mixture of stuff that was happening when Nimue appeared was Regina. And that was really just to hide the dagger away from everyone else. And I thought that was a lost opportunity, because even if Emma, because of her nature or because of the fact that she sacrificed herself to become the Dark One, could never fully be evil and dark and kind of typify the Dark Ones that we've come to know, what would it look like if other people got control of her and used her to their advantage? And I felt like that was a missed opportunity that, again, it seems like there's so many missed opportunities with the show sometimes that they didn't explore. And it was kind of disappointing, because and this is why I have such a complicated reaction to 5A, between, as Kristen mentioned, with the storytelling device kind of swinging from Camelot to Storybrooke and watching Emma sort of machinate behind the scenes, it was a little boring. I think that's really kind of what you're pointing to. She wasn't dark enough, or there wasn't enough compelling feeling behind her transformation, and it left it a little boring.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you agree or disagree.
I would agree.
Agree.
Okay. We kind of all gave our reactions to the season in general. Let's talk about some specific elements that came out of this season. For those of you who read our premiere blog post, like I said earlier, we had some predictions that were advanced. We had some wishes, hopes, and dreams. We also have some reactions to it. Probably the biggest thing that I want to touch on first is the fact that season 5A was kind of replete with villains, none of whom were Rumpelstiltskin. First of all, King Arthur, when we first meet him in Camelot, he seems all well and good, but as it turns out, he's a little bit nefarious, because we learn that the Dark One dagger is actually a broken piece of the sword Excalibur, and for some reason that I'm not even sure is quite clear, he is on this quest to unite the sword, by whatever means necessary. We then have Emma as the Dark One, but as we come to find out, the Dark One actually, this essence of the Dark One, channels all the other Dark Ones from all the other past times. So we actually meet Rumpelstiltskin again as Rumpelstiltskin from the Enchanted Forest as a hallucination inside her mind. But we also meet other examples, including, now of course we meet Merlin, the famed wizard Merlin, which Eddie's very excited to talk about. And one of the Dark One iterations is his true love, Nimue, who is actually the very first Dark One, we learn. Then we also have Zelena, Regina's sister, who they let out of the padded cell on condition that she wear a bracelet that quells her magical power, and they bring her to Camelot when they go to this place to try to save Emma. And of course, Zelena is unpredictable and is just determined to foil Regina at every step, because that is her mission in life. What do we think about all these different plot strands that just happened and interconnected, and for better or for worse?
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
I thought the multiple plots and subplots, it was getting the story, it was making the story convoluted a little bit. It wasn't as crisp and clean as it had been in the past, and I just kind of feel like it just kind of dumped the whole first part down. I feel like they could have told a better story by focusing on 2 or 3 plot lines instead of like the 5 or 6 that they actually had going on.
I know I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again. It's starting to turn into Lost.
Well, of course. Well, Edward Kitsis and Adam Horowitz were writers on Lost.
Yeah, right. But it's just, there's so much. I mean, once has always been complex. It's just this one section of it, though, is so complex. I don't know. I mean, I thought it was easy to follow, but I would rather have, like Kristen said, 2 or 3 that are really, really good storylines to follow than have all these other like plots that just, they were like done subpar because they had so many they had to do.
Well, and I think another problem too is that once loves introducing all of these new characters, or they keep reintroducing old favorites, and I want them to focus on the core group of characters for a while, give us some character development. They did that with Emma. They need to do it with the Charmings, which I think will help Eddie. But I mean, just, they introduced to so many new people in Camelot. It would have been nice to really scale that back and give us, here's the important people that you really need to watch. Let's forget about everybody else for a while.
I agree. I think that there was a lot going on. I actually had to go back and read some recaps because there was so much, it was hard to remember everything. Mm-hmm. And I also agree, like, it's okay to introduce new characters, but part of me started being really cynical and thinking, did they sign some sort of agreement or contract with certain, with ABC or something, or Disney, and that they had to cram all of these people, by a certain time in the show? Like, I didn't understand why everybody was being introduced, and it was kind of flighty. And maybe I'll have to go back and rewatch to see if my attitude towards that changes, but I don't think that it will. It was just a lot. And for me, I would rather, if you're going to have that many characters, then reintroduce our old favorites, because they seem to have, they're not around as much anymore. Like anybody who goes to Granny's or anything like that. Like, I want to see some of those people as well.
Well, we did get a couple of reintroductions. We got to see a couple of those older characters, which we'll get to in a second. I will say that at least Emma did have a through line. I mean, whatever else may be said, Emma really had a beginning, middle, and end on this season, mm-hmm. I think, as did Captain Hook. They're sort of dovetailed, and I said this when I was reacting generally to the season. I think theirs was the strongest story, because at least you could kind of juxtapose Emma's transformation to Hook's transformation, because, again, to set it up for the listener, at some point in the season, Hook gets, I forget what happened to
He gets wounded by Excalibur at Arthur's hand.
Yeah, Arthur, of course. And in order, Emma clearly loves him, and just like Rumpelstiltskin when he's the Dark One and loves Belle, she hasn't lost her love for Hook. And in order to save him, because he's clearly fatally wounded, what she ends up doing is attaching Hook to the Dark One via the sword, which is together. Excalibur is reforged at that point. And Hook becomes a second Dark One, while she is the Dark One, at least for a time. But his transformation is a lot quicker, maybe mm-hmm. because he started as a villain.
I think the reason his was so quick, like you said, he was a villain, mm-hmm. is I don't really think he got any evil put in him. Like, he just got the power. He's always been evil. I just think the only thing that makes him not evil is Emma. Like, I think she's his antidote of being evil. That's and when she's true. Not there, or she's evil, I thought they kind of did exactly what I hope they did, is that he did become evil, and it shows that they are the true pair, even though I'm not a Hook fan, we all know this. But it did show that they are a couple, and they are meant to be together, because if one's going to be one way, the other one's going to be that way as well, so that they can be together. It was very romantic. They both turned evil in a very weird way.
That's true. So, actually, this is kind of a brilliant segue. So what I have done in the questions for everyone to consider as we reconvene for our panel today is I went back over our blog entry that the four of us wrote at the beginning of the season, in addition to our last podcast, because many of our panelists made predictions. One of the points that was made in the blog post, Eddie, who, as he just said, is not a super fan of Hook, thought that this season was a, quote, make it or break it season for Hook. So my question, Eddie, did Hook make it or break it?
He made it.
All right. He better have. He's way too cute not to.
Oh, amen. We all know where my heart lies.
Well, tell the lister, because
I'm in love with Merlin. Merlin needs to come back somehow, some way. But I'm very happy to see. I think we got that raw side of Hook in this part of the first part of the season. I think he showed why he needs to be there, what his purpose is, and it just redefined it. Just like we keep talking about the core group. Is that I think he showed, and he almost like proved to me that I am a part of this core group, and this is why I'm here. And it was, I really, like I said earlier, I love that he became the evil one along with Emma. So I'm slowly becoming a Hook fan.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good.
Yeah, but it should be noted, too, that Hook did not want to be linked to the sword. He wanted Emma to let him go.
Which is true.
You know, he didn't want Emma to lose herself trying to save him, which is exactly what she did. But I thought that was a very sweet and tender moment with them in the field with all the pretty flowers. And he's like, no, just let me go. It's okay. But I understand why she didn't. We've already lost Neil, and I was a big Neil fan.
Yeah, me too.
Hook is a good replacement for Neil, because everyone knows I do enjoy my Hook moments. I don't know. I can agree that Hook made it this season. We got to see another side of him. And it was nice to get a little more of his backstory with his father, too, and kind of get to his motives a little bit.
That whole... I think that you pinpointed it, is when we went and saw his father and, like, the whole brother, and that made it for me. I was just like, wow.
I completely agree.
All right, Hook.
Yeah.
Go boy.
I agree that he made it this season as well, because I was worried that he would become kind of soft, like the Charmings have, in terms of just not having any real depth to him, or just not having the edge. So it was really great to see not only Hook come back, but like this evil, vindictive, angry version of him, and to get the flashbacks of, of a little bit more of who he is with the memories of his father and those encounters, and then to see how angry he got and confessing that he worked very hard to get this darkness, this anger, and this mean part of his spirit, just not to succumb to that. And that Emma undid a lot of that just by turning him into a dark one. So I thought it was I actually enjoyed that plot point probably the most this season, just because of where it made the most sense to me, and it was so entertaining.
I also like how he's connected to my favorite character, Regina, which makes me very happy. So, yes.
Yeah, it was pretty heartbreaking to find out about his dad, and the fact that he renamed another kid after
the brother
that he kind of forsook, I guess is the word, and then died, That was nice to get a little bit of backstory, and we haven't been getting a lot of backstory lately.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things
They've
that the
all
show
been
was
flashbacks.
Lost. Yeah. Flashbacks to Camelot, and really not a whole lot of character development. But I agree with Amie a lot. I think, I say it again, the Emma and Hook, those two storylines were the strongest for me this season, very much so. And I would agree that I don't want them to die, but the Charmings are rather two-dimensional.
Yeah. There's
really not a lot going on. When they appear in a scene, it's just like, okay, why are you here? So what? I mean, she found Lancelot, though. Mm-hmm. She found, as we've come to find out, Lancelot wasn't actually killed by Cora, but was imprisoned in some sort of magical stasis that Snow White found.
Mm-hmm. But I do like that, as I said, I hate the Charmings, but I liked how they worked. We got a glimpse of how they can truly work together, and how they truly love each other when they were going after the Dark One's dagger and everything, and Lancelot was working, and like even Lancelot was surprised. He was like, wow, I didn't realize you guys were just acting. So I thought that was really, really nice, and because that, I thought also showed like father and mother is like how daughter is trying to be in her relationship.
Mm-hmm. I definitely did draw that parallel a lot. Emma actually, I think, says that at some point in the season.
There's so much going on, I don't remember.
I know. That's so true. That is so true. So, we also had Regina and Robin Hood. Although they didn't really move much, except for the fact that Zelena was preggers, and then magically had her baby.
Thanks to Emma speeding up the process to eliminate Zelena from their lives.
Super fast.
Very super fast.
Well, Emma's the dark one. She can kind of do what she wants.
So what did we think about Rebecca Mader became a series regular this season, so that Zelena, I guess, is with us to stay.
Which is okay.
It is?
Okay. I really like Rebecca Mader as an actress, and so for that and watching her work, I really like, but Zelina, what else are we going to do with her?
Okay, this is the reason I like Zelina, okay? If you're going to turn my favorite character into a good person, which is Regina, I still need to see evil plots. And I think the one true person that makes Regina super evil to her core is her sister. I think if anybody...
Through sheer annoyance, because she's annoyed.
Yeah. Well, I really like that interaction with Zelina and Regina. They truly have that true, I need to upstage my sister. Like, at the end, when Zelina gets sent to Oz, back to Oz, and she's like, haha, yeah, I can send you. Haha, I did it. I was faking the first time. Like, seriously, to me, I was like, yes, thank you. I needed this in my life.
Interestingly enough, this is the season that I wasn't very bothered by Zelina, because normally I'm not a huge fan of that particular character, but I do like the interactions between her and Regina a little bit more than I liked before. As far as Regina and Robin, though, I agree it didn't go anywhere, so I have nothing to say really about that relationship.
It's just
but I wasn't bothered too much by Zelina as much this season.
I really liked it when Zelina was the mute handmaiden in Camelot, just because her reactions to everything that was said and that was going on were so perfect. Her work when she couldn't use her voice was just awesome. So I really enjoyed. That was probably the highlight of Zelina for me this season.
I didn't need the Zelina and King Arthur thing, though.
Yeah.
And for that, I was like, really? This really has to happen? I didn't like that.
Their little alliance was a little predictable.
Ham-fisted.
Yeah.
Right.
It's very ham-fisted.
But yeah, I'm a little disappointed that no progress was made on the Regina-Robin front. I mean, like you said, it was just kind of... I think nothing really happened.
Oh, gosh. Are we starting with predictions already? Oh, Lord.
Sure.
So
you're having a prediction moment.
I'm having a prediction moment.
Okay, go.
I think the reason we didn't see as much is because of what I'm hoping is we're going to the underworld, and I think we're going to see a lot more of Regina pop up because we're going to the underworld, because she used to be so evil. And I think it's really going to show Robin who Regina used to be. And I think it's going to be a make it or break it if, can you handle what my past used to be? Because I think Robin, he has said it that he understands who she used to be and who she is now. But I don't think Robin quite understands how evil she used to be. I mean, she's had her mother dead.
Yeah, he's never seen that side of her.
Right. And to understand.
And he's such, he's so, chivalrous and honorable that I think it may shock him. I mean, I don't know. That's interesting. I'd like to see that too.
Right. So I'm really hoping that we see, like I said earlier, is I really hope that we see Regina's mother. I hope that we see her in the underworld. I don't think Regina's father will be in the underworld, but I definitely could see her mother being in the underworld.
Oh, I'm sure Cora's got to be there. I don't think she was ever redeemed. Kristen has that look on her face.
I'm going to save the information that I have about the second half of the season till the end of the podcast. Because I don't want to spoil any predictions with the knowledge that I have had confirmed by my sources.
Oh my. Oh, well, you know she has resources.
All right, then.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about some of the Camelot things. Everybody wanted to... kind of thought about, are we going to be able to see the love triangle between Lancelot, Guinevere, and Arthur, the famous love triangle? And what we end up learning from the story is that, yes, in fact, there was a love triangle. Arthur loved Guinevere, Guinevere loved Lancelot, Lancelot loved Guinevere back, except that Arthur, in his zeal to have it all, I guess is his big character motivation, he magically, through a potion of some sort, doses Guinevere and makes her magically love him and no one else forevermore.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much.
Yep.
And then ends up getting Lancelot in prison. What do we think about that?
It was a cheapskate out. The writers had to do something.
Well, I think it was a device to show how ruthless Arthur was to fulfill the destiny of releasing the sword from the stone and being the rightful ruler of this non-existent kingdom. There was no kingdom. There was no Camelot. Camelot was this teeny tiny little village of nothing, and it was the same potion or dust or whatever it was that he used on Guinevere to change her feelings. He used it to build Camelot. Like, they literally blew it out the one tower window and up popped this Neuschwanstein-esque castle, and that's how Camelot became Camelot. He totally got it by ill-begotten means, I guess.
What was that potion originally used for? Was it to mock so that the sword would look whole?
Yes.
Is that why?
That was why he originally got it, was to make people believe that the sword was whole.
And who did he get it from?
The Witch in the Woods.
The Witch in the Woods.
Okay.
How do you guys feel? I mean, one of the things that I don't understand, and I realize that the writers and producers have been telling us fractured fairy tales this entire time, but they usually have had some point or interconnectedness. The thing that bothered me about season 5A and this whole Camelot business is that King Arthur is a hero in all the texts that we've ever learned about King Arthur. Thomas Mallory's original novelization, Le Morte d'Arthur, which tells the tales of Camelot, he's not a perfect hero, but he's still a hero. I don't think that there's anything heroic about this character, and I'm not even sure that he had a point in the end.
I really think the only reason they brought in Camelot for this was to explain where the Dark One dagger originated from. I feel like somebody had this great idea, let's make the Dark One the tip of Excalibur. Because what other
Which is
famous...
a good idea.
It is a great idea. I thought it was very smart.
It makes perfect sense.
Exactly. And so they're like, okay, well, if we're going to bring in Excalibur, we have to tell the tale of King Arthur. We've already done the sneak peek with Lancelot with the whole Korra season 2 thing. But I just feel... Yeah, they really fractured this legend quite a bit.
I even think they could have had Merlin without King Arthur.
I do too.
Like, totally could have had Merlin without King Arthur.
King Arthur really added nothing to this entire story, other than to be an annoyance and complication at times. And that's what I think I have a problem with. It's like when you were already talking about focusing on...
primary reason.
Yeah. You're already talking about focusing on, fewer characters. Well, I'll talk about a superfluous character. Just because we were in Camelot, we had to have Arthur. But then why did he have to be a villain who was power-hungry and ambitious to apparently no point at all?
I almost, as I was watching that, I almost feel as though they tried a little bit too hard to be unpredictable in that moment by turning King Arthur into exactly the opposite of what we've ever known about him. And for me, that bothered me a little bit because it wasn't fully developed. It didn't make sense. And in a way, it was to find out that the dagger and Excalibur, are come from the same thing. So that was interesting. But King Arthur, I could leave him, and he didn't need to be in the series, in my opinion.
Or be in the series, but not with such a focus, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it got to be a distraction. And one of the things I raised in my questions is, so all these people from Camelot ended up in Storybrooke. What happened to them?
Yeah, after they realized that Arthur really destroyed their chances at reconnecting with Merlin in the Storybrooke world, we never saw the Camelot camp ever again. We never found out if Guinevere realized she was under a spell, and if that ever was removed from her. And why bring them to Storybrooke if you're never going to do anything with them again?
And this is a problem because they've dropped other people that they have not revisited, like, for example, Will Scarlet, the native.
Oh, I love Will Scarlet. Where is he?
Yeah, where did he go? Maybe Michael Sosha couldn't make this season work, but where did he go? No mention. And to Eddie's earlier point, this is exactly what happened during Lost Season 3. Added new people. Where the hell did they go?
Yeah.
Aside from the deaths, which were obvious, just kept sprinkling things with a spaghetti-on-the-wall approach.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. That's a problem.
But going back to these superfluous characters, can we talk about Merida for a second?
Please do.
Oh my God, yes, please.
Because it feels like this is almost what I think would happen in the writer's room. Cool. Let's make the Dark One dagger part of Excalibur. Great idea. So then we can maybe bring in Camelot. Camelot is in, the general UK area. You know who else? You know which UK character from Disney we haven't brought in yet? Merida. So let's bring in Merida, because she's in the neighboring kingdom of Dumbrock, and then we can show her, and then we can have this stupid moment, I'm going to teach you how to be brave, Rumpelstiltskin, because it's all about synergy and everything coming together.
So to set up the story for the listener, just to put this in perspective. Rumpelstiltskin started the season in a coma because, as we know, he was dying, his heart was black, etc., etc. They saved him, but he was comatose for a while. So then when he woke up, he was no longer the Dark One, because Emma was the Dark One. He was this whimpering, cowering, cowardly hero, which is how he became the Dark One in the first place, because he's so cowardly, he wanted power to make him feel like as special. So, in Emma's big plan in Storybrooke to reconstitute Excalibur, because it was broken, and then it wasn't broken, and then it was broken again, and then it was reforged again in Storybrooke, a hero's blood had to help reforge that.
A hero had to pull it from the stone.
Exactly. And there was no likely candidate in her mind to be a hero, because apparently her dad wasn't good enough, or her son wasn't good enough, or any of these other people. So what do? We train Merida, who appeared in Storybrooke, and of course she's the main character in Pixar's Brave, we grab her heart and control her, because that's what the Dark One does, reaches in and pulls hearts out, and say, train Rumpelstiltskin to be a hero. This is your...
Well, she said technically make him brave.
Make him brave. Oh, because, yeah.
Yep.
Make him brave, so that he would be heroic, and then he could pull the sword from the stone, which...
So then Emma could continue her evil plan.
Correct.
Quote, quote.
Now, of course, we also had 2 other episodes. We had a backstory with Merida in terms of meeting her in Camelot. That actually happened in the very first episode of the season. And we also had this one-off episode around Thanksgiving that was entirely about Merida meeting Mulan and Little Red Riding Hood. Megan Ori came back for an episode. What do we think about those?
That episode was the definition of superfluous, because ABC went to Once Upon a Time and said, hey, we need you to do one more episode. And they're like, well, we've already written we've done everything for this season arc, we've gone past this filming point, I guess we can do this. And that's essentially why that episode came around, is the network asked to have one more episode included. But because, again, they map everything out ahead of time, their filming schedule is all set, what else could they do but focus on some 3 minor characters to amp up the Merida quotient?
That certainly makes sense. It doesn't feel like part of the season.
No.
In fact, after I saw that episode, I thought, well, what was the point of this episode? None of the main characters were there. It didn't push that storyline along. I mean, I can appreciate it, I guess, to an extent, but it certainly did feel separate from the rest of the episodes.
I'd be okay with it if it was a backdoor pilot for another Once Upon a Time spinoff, but it wasn't. Mm-hmm. It was completely shoehorned in. And I love Brave. Don't get me wrong.
I do too.
The whole Pixar library, with maybe the exception of the Cars movies, I love all of those movies. And I completely and totally enjoy Brave, and I love Merida in the movie. I love that they picked up with her after the events of the movie, so it wasn't like they were trying to fracture that story. And I thought that the actress who played Merida did a good job.
She was great.
But her purpose for being there at any point...
I feel like it was a wasted opportunity.
It was a wasted opportunity. It was unnecessary for when they were doing it. They could have done it at any other point, at any other time. This corporate synergy stuff kind of annoys me.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of is that, the creators have been teasing that there's going to be an LGBT relationship in the second half of season 5, but they want it to happen very organically. They don't want it to be this special event. They just want it to be, this is a normal, natural thing that happens in everyday life.
Can we get past the LGBT, relationships, seriously? Yeah. I know it's 2016, but my goodness, every show doesn't need a gay couple.
Yeah.
And that's coming from a gay man. Hello. Just saying.
So I'm almost wondering, we don't know who the characters are. It could be anybody. It's probably...
Henry turns gay. That's it. We're done.
Well, we know that's not going to happen.
We know that's not going to happen. But chances are it's probably going to be Mulan, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's with Merida, since they kind of went off together, or with Ruby, because she just likes everybody. So I'm guessing
she swings both ways.
Yeah. I'm guessing it's going to be one of that trio, and if it's the case, if it's going to be Mulan and Merida, or, because they seem to have a really good natural chemistry, I could see maybe that's why they introduced it.
But how is that? Okay, so Okay, think of this. Mulan, Merida, Underworld. Gay relationship. How's that all
Merida's not in the underworld, and neither is Mulan.
Right, so how are they, if you're saying in the second half they're going to introduce...
I'm just wondering, because it doesn't...
More flashbacks?
They're not going to be in the underworld the whole time.
I know, but
No,
still.
but in order for this to make sense, they'd have to be in the Enchanted Forest or whatever.
Who knows? I don't know where that's going.
I don't even think they
information.
established where the Kingdom of Dunbrock is in relationship to the Enchanted Forest or to Camelot.
It's near Camelot. It's a neighboring kingdom since King Arthur went and captured her brothers.
Right.
To try to take over Dunbrock. To expand.
But then where is that in relationship to the Enchanted Forest?
We don't know.
And how did all these people find each other?
Don't know.
Are you listening, writers?
Things they have left unanswered.
So many questions.
I mean, it is connected in some way since Lancelot, appears in the Enchanted Forest throughout the Charming's early history. But there is no Enchanted Forest map to show us where everything is in relation to each other.
Merchandising opportunity.
I was going to say, could we get a map, please?
We get an official Enchanted Forest map to let us know where everybody's kingdom is.
Actually, ABC, anyone if you're listening, please put that on a website. That would be
draw us a map,
We
please.
need supplemental learning aids for this at this point. Okay.
Yeah.
So speaking of Henry, since you brought him up, Henry's big storyline. Now, first of all, I just want to throw out there that many of our panelists wanted him to embrace his author powers this season, which he did not do.
Not yet. This is only part A.
True, so far,
but he also said that kind of power is dangerous.
He did.
He did, but maybe another prediction. Oh boy.
Eddie's got a prediction.
I got a prediction. I could see him using it to save Hook somehow to make Mama happy.
But he didn't earlier when presented with that opportunity.
Yeah, Hook actually asked him to save his mom.
Right.
And he said he couldn't do that.
Correct, but...
If he's not going to save his mom, he's not going to save his mom's boyfriend.
But he would save Mama's boyfriend to make Mama happy.
I don't think he'd do that.
I don't agree with that. I also, because he didn't do it for his mom. But I also think if he wrote a different ending to save Hook or wrote a different part of the story, then there wouldn't... I'm not sure what the second part of the season would look like.
Yeah.
That's my only concern,
like season
really,
3 of
on that
Lost.
idea.
Yeah.
I just think they're too afraid of what... I mean, they're already not keeping track of their own continuity.
Yeah.
I mean, on the one hand, I do want them to embrace the fact that they've given Henry this awesome role. And I think if they took some time and care with it, they probably could create a pretty substantial story with Henry as the author. But I don't think they want to allow that to happen because then it would be an easy out, number one. And a sticky wicket, Henry can change the ending. Done. Same time, I think, like I said, they are not even keeping track of the characters and situations that they have put in the story. It just seems like they'd be creating complications for themselves. I want him to be the author, don't get me wrong, but I'm really struggling with what the writers are trying to do at this point.
Yeah.
Because the Lost comparison is apt this time.
It is.
Very apt.
In regard to Henry and his author skills, I kind of want to believe that they're saving that till maybe a couple of seasons. This is just of course they're not keeping track of their storylines as clearly, but I want to see it reemerge when he's a little older and maybe a little more responsive to that kind of gift. And something that they bring back. I mean, I don't think it's gone forever, though.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Amie. I could definitely see them saving the author element of Henry's character for maybe even closer to the series finale, where maybe because again, the author's job is to record what happens and write it down. And I mean, I think the evil author, his name was Isaac, mm-hmm. Is that right? I mean, It was interesting to see the alternate reality where Isaac wrote his own story and to see that play out. And I could see them closing the series with Henry embracing the authorness of himself and his responsibility and giving everyone in the world this new book of fairy tales. Here's the new book that Henry has written. So he does embrace the author. He gives us, the new adventures of Snow White and Prince Charming, and here's the evil queen getting a happy ending. I could see him recording what happens and releasing it.
It would be interesting, now that you guys say that this whole time that all of this is happening, and that, like, we keep saying that there's so many different plot lines, there's so many different stories, that what's actually happening is Henry is trying to rewrite it as we speak.
Ooh.
Huh.
And
that would be very Matrix meta of them.
I know, but it would be very interesting to see that he's already trying to rewrite it in the background so that everybody is... Like, it would make perfect sense that he's just trying to make every single person happy that he's writing about.
I guess we'll find out.
I know, right?
That'd be interesting. Henry's other major storyline this season, though, is that he had a little girlfriend. And actually, both Eddie and Kristen predicted this in halves. Eddie predicted that Henry would find love, or wanted him to find love. And Kristen predicted that the love interest would be a maiden from Camelot. And both of you were right.
Oh.
However, Emma, as the Dark One, the most evil thing she did was to sabotage her young son's relationship.
Because she needed a tear of true heartbreak.
Correct. What did we think about that? And what did we think about their little song there? Which we played many times.
I just thank Emma for hurting her son because she unmasked the man that stole my heart, Merlin. No, I'm just kidding.
So for Eddie, this tear of true heartbreak was...
It made my heart feel good. So we met Merlin.
Wow.
I think
It's hard, but here's what I think, though. We were just to go back to what we were saying earlier about Emma not being dark enough. I think that was a pretty dark move, because she normally wouldn't do that under any other circumstance. And even though she wasn't fully dark at that moment, it's still such a heartbreaking thing to do to your son, in terms of, manipulating the situation in order to get him to cry and to get him very upset. That was very telling to me as an audience, in terms of her story and what she's struggling with and what she actually is making the decision to do to fight this darkness or whatever. I don't have any words about the song, though.
See, I think it's really interesting. I was not shocked that she hurt Henry, because Emma, I think in her mindset when she was doing it, is she knows that she was going to hurt Henry, but at the end of the day, Henry's still going to love her. I don't think Emma ever wants to lose the love of her family. She doesn't want to lose Hook's love, but she knew if she hurt Henry, he would eventually get past it and still love her.
Well, and again, this is another case of Emma doing something evil, but for the right reasons. It's like she needed to release Merlin from the tree in order
to save herself.
To save everybody. It's for the greater good. And, that's where I can understand that she took Henry's memory away to conceal that, because I don't think she wants... everybody's first heartbreak, it's excruciating. Everybody has gone through this. It's a very painful situation. And Emma, I don't think, wanted to cause Henry heartbreak, but again, she needed to do something evil for the greater good.
We also saw Regina's heartbreak as well, correct?
Yeah, we relived her heartbreak over Daniel, but because she's moved on and she's in love with Robin Hood, the heartbreak isn't as bad.
Right. That was the first try.
Yeah, and as soon as that happened, I knew that Emma was going to go and break Henry's heart with his little girlfriend.
Do you think we'll see the girlfriend again?
No. I hope so, but it won't be for a while.
I hope not.
Well, all these Camelot people are apparently stranded in Storybrooke.
Mm-hmm.
This is true.
So
I hope we do, only because part of what my input was on my entry earlier this season was that I wanted to see more of him interacting with his peers. And even though it's just one girl right now, it's really nice to see that and to see him actually be a kid and not this serious, we have to fight evil forces all the time. I want to see him. I cannot see Henry grow as a character and as a child into a teen, into an adult, without actually having him around his peers. So it was good for me. I hope that they bring her back in some capacity, or some other youthful characters.
Yeah, I agree. I would like to see Henry more with his peers and experiencing everyday life on top of, I'm going to the underworld to get my mom's boyfriend back. I want to see that balance in his life, and that we're not getting.
And here's my little addition to this piece of it. So they have been teasing, and I don't know for how many episodes, a return of Robbie Kay, who played Peter Pan in the Neverland arc. So I've got to believe that Peter Pan, i.e. his
Rumple's father,
grandfather, right, is in the underworld because he was an evil little SOB. And I think Henry is going to encounter his great grandfather.
Are we hitting the 100th
again.
episode soon?
We should be.
In the underworld. So I'm sure we're about to see a crap load of people.
Kristen's got that look on her face again.
I just keep reading her mind. I'm really good at doing this.
Again, I will reveal the information, including what I know about the 100th episode, at the end of the podcast.
So the answer is yes.
The answer is I will not comment at this time.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. So to the extent that he has interacted with kids, I don't think we're going to be seeing many more of them because he did go with them to the underworld, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it won't be this season, unfortunately.
You could fall in love with a dead person. I mean, that'd be interesting.
Unless all these dead people come up from the underworld after all. Hook tried to make it happen.
Yeah, bringing all the dark ones back.
So let's talk about the man who would be the Dark One again. So the big twist, major spoiler of the season, is that somehow, all this time, or at least part of this time, that old Rumpelstiltskin, never a dull moment with that guy. Never let things lie, wasn't comfortable being a somewhat more confident version of his pre-Dark One self, was able to somehow manipulate it so that, unfortunately, Hook, of course, as the Dark One, does not survive his ordeal. There's this whole piece where him and the previous Dark Ones, primarily Nimue, were trying to bring back the Dark Ones by channeling them into like a person, namely Hook, and it didn't work. It was foiled by Emma's love, and Hook didn't survive the process, and now he's in the underworld, but in the meantime, Rumpel squirreled away the dagger again and managed to tie himself back to being the Dark One. So the big twist is that Emma's now the savior again, or at least the savior version. She was wearing the red leather jacket at the end of the season, and Rumpelstiltskin is back to being the Dark One.
Yes, because he enchanted Excalibur, so when Hook sacrificed himself to save Emma and to stop the Dark Ones from taking over Storybrooke, all the darkness was supposed to die with Hook. Instead, all the darkness was then channeled from Rumpelstiltskin. So not only is he the Dark One again,
he's all the Dark Ones.
He's all the Dark Ones. He is now the ultimate Dark One and has all the powers of everyone who's came before him, including Emma and Hook.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Thank goodness he's back, though.
I know. Oh my goodness.
He really is my favorite
I
villain.
totally agree. I'm glad they brought him back. I think people missed him, and they found, I think, a pretty good way to bring him back and bring him back better than ever. It's kind of, I almost feel like they're trying to start over, but not really. And I feel like now they just need to make Regina evil again.
Well, they're going to the world.
Well, the one thing I liked about Rumpelstiltskin's retransformation is that it was done in a very organic way. It made sense.
Yeah.
It made logical sense, unlike a lot of the other things that happened this season.
Well, it made sense because it's something he would do.
Yeah.
Like, it totally...
It's like, even though he didn't have any magic, he somehow found a potion that he had squirreled away and re-enchanted Excalibur while it was in his possession when he was fighting.
Because if we think about it, Rumpelstiltskin really doesn't know anything else but to be the Dark
Well, and
One.
his thing is his quest. He wants love from Belle, and he wants his powers back. And now he has a way for both. He's got Belle back in his life. Now he has the ultimate Dark One power. He has everything he's ever wanted.
Do you think Belle will get more exciting once she finds out he's the Dark One again?
No, I have a feeling he's probably going to enchant her, so she doesn't care that he's the Dark One again.
Is that a prediction?
It's a prediction, but also knowing that the actress who plays Belle is currently pregnant in real life.
Be Emily DeRavin.
Thank you. At last check, the writers hadn't decided if they're going to write the pregnancy into the show or not, so there could be some very... clever hiding of the belly.
What is she going to do? Get pregnant from a demon?
Well, it would be her and Rumpelstiltskin's baby.
That's disturbing. Let's get rid of her.
So again, don't know if there's going to be we don't know if there'll be a Rumbell baby, but That's what their relationship, their shipper name is, Rumbell. It's out there in the universe.
I disagree.
I agree.
Thank you. So I think her character is going to be not very existent while she's pregnant and then on maternity leave. Just kind of like how when Jennifer Goodwin was pregnant with her son or daughter, Snow White kind of took a back seat, and then they also just happened to write the pregnancy into the show. So, because she's married to Prince Charming in real life, for those who don't know.
Yeah, they actually met on the show.
Yep.
Yes, they did.
Fell in love and got married, and now they have a baby.
So what we're saying is Belle's going to be even more useless than she was.
Which is so disappointing.
Which is really hard to do, because she was pretty useless.
Belle's my favorite Disney princess, hands down. I was super excited when she was cast, and I'm really disappointed with how they're taking
she came out of the gate running, though. She did very well when she was first introduced to the show.
Yep, and
I'm going to say this. I don't think this is the last we've seen of Belle.
It's not.
I do think Belle is going to get her comeback. And I think her comeback is going to be something that we need for, the story to continue.
Well, it has been confirmed that we are going to see Belle's life before she meets Rumpelstiltskin during the Ogre Wars in the second half of Season 5. Gaston has been cast. Her dad's coming back. We're going to see her life pre-Rumpelstiltskin.
Maybe she gets pregnant in the flashbacks from Gaston.
Doubt it.
And she loses it.
Doubt it.
I'm really...
I don't know if they're going to go that deep.
They won't. Well, because again, remember, Belle and Gaston, they're not married. No. Gaston was turned into a rose after his meeting with Rumpelstiltskin.
If you haven't noticed, I'm trying to make this a Showtime HBO show. ABC.
Yeah, no, that prediction will not come to pass. If Belle is going to be pregnant, it's going to be with her husband Rumpelstiltskin, because it's Disney, it's ABC, and it's done in the family hour on Sunday night.
All I know is that she's really just become window dressing, like a prop for him.
And it's so sad. She's so talented.
She is
She's
talented.
such a good character.
I don't know. I hope that whatever they decide to do, it makes sense. I don't know. And maybe it's fine that we leave her aside for a little while, because I don't think she was with the group going to the underworld.
I don't think she was either.
It would be interesting if she showed up somehow, some way. I mean, if we're meeting Gaston and her dad's coming back, she's got to be there somehow.
But it's a flashback. It's not in present time.
It's clearly they're setting up what I think, because Rumpelstiltskin didn't go with them either. He's the dark one, but back in Storybrooke. Mm-hmm. So all these little group of people have trundled into the water with the intention of entering the underworld.
Isn't he the one who sent them?
No. Emma chose to go into the underworld to save Hook.
Right. How'd they open the underworld? I forgot.
Regina.
Yeah, she had the magic for it.
Yep. Because she has the apprentice's wand.
My girl opened the underworld. Good Lord.
Well, she calls the boat. She called the boat to go to the underworld because they were still marked. That's the thing. When the previous Dark Ones, when they wanted to come back, they went they marked the living people to take their place in the underworld. So while the previous Dark Ones have been vanquished, they still have the marks, so they are allowed passage to the underworld. The trick now is, who are they going to get to take their place
in the
underworld so everybody can come back?
Interesting.
Yeah. Belle was excluded from that because she's Rumpelstiltskin.
I really hope while we're in the underworld, it's actually present. Because I'm tired of them going to other places and them all turning into flashbacks.
Well, but we're going to get flashbacks. Yep. Like Kristen just said, we're going to flashback into Belle. We know that for sure.
And there's going to be another flashback that I'll talk about in a little
bit.
But
I mean flashback to them going to the underworld.
We'll see that happen in real time.
I really hope so.
But then once they get to the underworld, that's where we're going to encounter other flashbacks. We're going to encounter other characters.
Yeah, and I don't mind flashbacks as long as they're character development flashbacks.
Right. Well, and keep in mind that because Rumpelstiltskin and Belle and the rest of Storybrooke are still in Storybrooke, we're still going to be in Storybrooke for some. They're not going to leave Rumpelstiltskin out for any length of time.
No, because now Rumpelstiltskin is now running Storybrooke, because everyone who usually does, the sheriff, the mayor, they're all in the underworld.
And he's the dark one of all dark ones. And one of my questions that I asked was, with all of this power and presumably the love of Belle, because she doesn't know any better yet, what is his big plan? What do you think he's gunning for now, if anything?
I don't know. I don't know if there is anything he's really gunning for.
Because I think he just likes the power.
Yeah,
I mean, who knows? I think that he enjoyed having power back. I think that that's the primary goal right now is to be the most powerful, especially since he now knows what it feels like to not at all be the Dark One, and recently, because he had just lost that power and what he had to go through without being the Dark One. So I feel like that kind of fuels a little bit of the motivation to be the most powerful and be the most powerful tenfold. But as far as what he's going to do with that, I don't know, but he could do anything because we just don't know yet.
The one thing that Rumpelstiltskin is missing from his life is Neil, is his son. So if they were going to... Thank you.
Do you think they'll bring him back?
I don't.
Wait, because he's on a show that NBC's trying to premiere.
Correct. I have not heard.
There's a show called Game of Silence that NBC picked up to pilot. It has no premiere date yet, but he's one of the stars.
Yeah, and I've not heard if the actor who plays Neil is slated to come back.
James.
Correct. I have not heard if he's coming back in any way, shape, or form. However, because he did lose his son, because again, family or magic, and he chose magic time and time again from Neil, I could see them in this instance writing Belle's or Emile DeRaven, whatever.
Emily DeRaven.
Emily DeRaven. Thank you. I could see them writing her pregnancy into the show to give Rumpelstiltskin a second chance at fatherhood, much like Hook's father had the second chance at fatherhood and to do the right thing. So I could see him having a second chance with Neil.
But creating, now here's another opportunity, and I hope they could make it happen, even if it was just for one episode. Maybe it didn't take somehow, but if he has the ultimate power...
Could he bring Neil back from the dead?
Yeah, because I think that is ultimately kind of what he regrets or wants to do.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Because I miss him.
I miss Neil
I miss him too.
I miss Neil. Hook is a good replacement for Neil, but he's not Neil. But they've already played...
I shipped Balefire before I shipped Hook. I love Hook.
I do too.
But I feel like Neil and Emma...
are meant to be.
Yeah.
But the thing
I'm with Kylie on this one, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is they've already done the Emma, Neil, Hook love triangle during the Neverland arc. You know, how would they really want to revisit that, or would it be more just Hook getting that closure with his son?
You mean Rumpelstiltskin?
Yes, sorry, Rumpelstiltskin getting the closure with his son.
I mean, I'm not advocating a revisit of the love triangle at all. And even if we could say that Emma somehow moved on from Balefire, that's okay. Mm-hmm. But I just love the character of Neil / Balefire. I think he was a voice of reason.
Yep.
The way that he ended up being sacrificed was very moving. That was one of the better points of that season.
Yes.
They wrote it very well. But he's a character that he just injected so much freshness when he was on the show. It also is a callback to, I think, the heyday of the show, which is the first and second season. I mean, I think those were the two best seasons of the show.
I agree.
Second season, of course, was when the Balefire story became really prominent. So, I don't know, I think it would be a lovely callback. Maybe if it is Rumpelstiltskin getting some closure or some forgiveness, that would be a wonderful thing. Or, maybe he brings him back as a zombie because other TV shows and movies have explored the idea of magic bringing back the dead and not being able to do that. I mean, if we're going to talk Disney and Aladdin, that's one of the things that Genie can't do is bring someone back from the dead. So what if he tries to do that and it fails? I think that would be a really interesting story.
Wow, that's the one true thing he can't do. Oh, that's deep.
Yeah.
And that's the one true thing he wants the most.
But what I would find if they brought him back, not in zombie form, but like in like real people form, that the dynamic of Neil with Rumple, as well as Neil with Henry, I think would be great to revisit, especially with Henry being a little bit older now, and with Rumple being a lot more evil now, and a lot has transpired. So inserting him, I'd be curious to see what that's like.
I could see Neil making Henry, not making, but advising him on how to be a good author.
Or what if Neil, because of the way he died, which was a very dark one informed death, what if they encounter his spirit in the underworld, trapped? Because the underworld isn't full of
evil.
It's not necessarily evil, it's just a place of unrest.
Right. If it's the underworld from Hercules, is
which
people who are
I think
trapped.
we're going that way.
Yeah, we are going that way, because they have also teased casting along the lines of the Hercules characters. So they're already mixing stuff up again. but what if they encounter his spirit? Henry's going with them. Mm-hmm. Maybe Rumpelstiltskin doesn't bring Neil back, but maybe he gets to see his dad once in the 100th episode. Hey, I'm going to predict that, because I never do anything. Kristen has that knowing look on her face again. Okay, so let's talk about a few more things that happened this season before we start transitioning into what we want to see from the underworld. Generally, everybody's happy that Rumpel's back as the Dark One.
Oh,
Yes.
Okay, so here's a couple other things. These are all predictions, which is why I want to go over them real quick. First of all, Kristen predicted that the events in Camelot somehow happened before the first curse, but I don't think that's true.
I don't either.
It's not, and the reason I thought that is because Lancelot technically was dead, and that's why Cora was impersonating him in season 2 after the curse had taken effect. The fact that they were able to rewrite that work and say, oh, no, I just tricked Cora into thinking that I was dead, but I'm really not dead. That was very convenient.
But he was in a thingy.
Yeah.
A stasis thingy.
Yeah. That was just a very convenient way of bringing back a character that they had only brought on for a limited period of time and had since killed him off.
Kristen also predicted that Hook's love would save Emma from evil, which I think is right.
I agree.
Because I think Emma loving Hook and vice versa is what motivated that change back. But you also thought that maybe Merlin would have a hand in saving Emma, and we know that's not the case, really, because he was confronted by his true love, Nimue, and sacrificed his own power, which makes Eddie very sad. Because he died. Spoiler, he died. So how do we feel about Merlin's overall effect on this story?
He was so beautiful to look at. And in all honesty, I think the hype of getting, using Merlin, I think their, drive for why they needed him wasn't enough for him to be in the story. I can't believe I'm saying this. I believe the whole Camelot could have disappeared and we could have just focused on Emma being the Dark One in Storybrooke and we would have been fine.
Or spent maybe a couple episodes there to make the tie-in with the sword and... Mm-hmm.
Honestly, that's the only thing we got out of Camelot is we know that the Dark One's dagger is part of Excalibur.
And I could have done without King Arthur in Camelot, but Merlin, I feel, was very important to the story because they said, the only person who can help is Merlin. He's Merlin. He's the one and only, the Almighty. He trained the apprentice, and the apprentice is like, dude, you got to go find my boss. He's the only one that can save you.
But he didn't save her.
He didn't, and I felt if they would have eliminated the Camelot and the Merida subplots and focused on Merlin and I liked his backstory. I liked the evolution of how he came to be. I liked the Nimue aspect and how, one was light, one was dark.
Which is actually part of the legend.
It is. I really liked it, but I felt they could have built upon it better, and I feel like they could have done so much more with Merlin had they not had the Arthur subplot.
I agree.
Because then he probably wouldn't have died, and we would have got to see more of him, and you could still love him into season 5.
Oh, I still love him.
I know. That's me.
How do we feel about Regina and Emma's friendship and their state of things?
I really like their friendship. I think they've learned how to be parents together, and I think they've learned how to be parents together, which now is helping them become friends together. It'd be very interesting if somehow, I know Henry's a major part of the show, not saying that Henry's going to die or anything, because apparently I've tried killing everybody this podcast. But,
that's true, you have. Get your finger off the trigger!
It would be interesting.
Or your sword hilt, whatever.
It would be interesting to see if the Henry aspect from Regina, and maybe this may happen because he's getting older and he doesn't need parents as much, is to see what Regina and Emma truly are. Because I think I know Henry is the glue to Regina and Emma. So it'd be interesting, but I definitely like their friendship, and I like where it's gone, and I like where it's going. And I believe that Regina stays good and is good because of Emma, and vice versa. I think Emma didn't get as bad as we wanted to see because of Regina.
I don't really agree with that. I think that, yes, at one time Henry was the glue that was holding Emma and Regina together because they both wanted to do what was right for their son. biological and adopted. But seeing what happened in 5A, Emma was the Dark One. She did it not only to save Hook, but she also became the Dark One because she could actually eliminate Zelena from their lives and give Regina her happy ending with Robin. And if Emma didn't care for Regina on any sort of level, she would not have come up with that plan.
I don't think...
the initial sacrifice
was going to be...
at the end of 4B, the season finale, she was stepping in to absorb the Dark One energy
to get it away from Regina. Yeah, and so she was doing it to save Regina that way, and then to channel the darkness, she was going to... The reason she sped up Zelena's pregnancy was to remove the baby, to keep the baby safe. And then what she was going to do was channel all of that darkness energy into Zelena and sacrifice Zelena with Excalibur and eliminate all the darkness once and for all. And that's, unfortunately, the plan went askew. So she was going to kill two birds with one stone. Get rid of the darkness and give Regina her happy ending.
So to reiterate what I was saying, I think Henry was what initially kept them together. I think they built a friendship off of that.
Okay.
But I think I still think Henry has a major play in keeping those two together with him being their kid. And it would be interesting if he was taken out of that, what their relationship would be then.
I don't think that their relationship is based on Henry anymore.
So you're telling me if something happened to Henry, they wouldn't blame each other?
It would depend on what happened.
So if he winds up
I
killed...
see what Eddie's saying.
You see what I'm saying?
I do.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I get where you're going, but I think...
But I don't think Henry's the only aspect right now of their friendship that makes them
Yeah,
friends.
I think they've evolved much, I think they've evolved further beyond Henry.
I agree.
So I guess the interesting...
Well, they have more common ground now, though.
Yeah,
correct.
Exactly.
Henry, now they have this evil component, and they have this component of Emma entrusting Regina to do what the best and right thing is to do in times of crisis and things like that. I think it's evolved. I still think it's a little tense, and I still think that they're feeling it out. Like, I don't think it's best friendship yet, but I do think that they have a strong understanding of each other in a way that they didn't before.
Well, and I can certainly appreciate Eddie's point in the sense that maybe they are stronger than they used to be, but it would be interesting to see what if they were to encounter a test of that, and that the likely test would be Henry,
Right.
And something happening to him. And since they're going to the underworld, he's at great risk. They're all at great risk. So it'll be interesting to see what, if any, part Henry has to play in this upcoming
I think
segment.
it'll be interesting what you said earlier, Kristen, as now that they're going to the underworld, it's going to be interesting to see who's going to have to take their places so that they come back. It's going to be very interesting to see who takes their places.
Or to see how they can get around that and get through a loophole.
Right.
Yeah.
Is Emma the savior again?
Yes. It is. Yep. That was the significance of her transforming from her Dark One garb into the red leather jacket. Because she's wearing, at that point, it's the same outfit she was wearing in the season premiere. Or the series premiere, excuse me. So yes, she is back to being the savior. She's full of lightness again. She's Emma the savior.
But Regina's not a savior.
No.
Okay.
Regina has never been a savior.
I thought maybe she was a savior in the season finale 4B in Isaac's freaky world.
She in the freaky world, yeah, in the backwards world, she was the savior because she was written that way.
Okay.
But that's not the reality, Regina.
Okay. We've done a lot of prognosticating about the possibilities of season 5B, which is set to resume here. What was the date? The premiere date for our midseason?
March.
Yeah, March of this year. We've kind of tossed out a couple of things, couple of predictions. Now, this is the chance for you to predict, hope, wish. What do you want to see in this upcoming half of the season?
I'm going to go last.
Oh. Who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Amie.
What do I want to see in the next half?
Yes.
Now that we've been talking about it, I do kind of wish we see Neil in the underworld or outside the underworld. I don't know, but I think that would be really cool. I want to see what happens with Rumple and Belle and that whole storyline while they're in Storybrooke. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the underworld looks like because I was really over Camelot and Merida and that storyline. Like, I didn't connect with that. But I'm excited to see what the balance of the season is going to shape up to look like.
I really hope that going to the underworld, it's not just we're going to the underworld. I really hope there's I mean, I know we're going for Hook to get him back, but besides that, I hope there's a major reason why they're going to the underworld. And I hope that the underworld starts developing our core characters again.
What do you mean a reason other than Hook? Because Hook is the reason.
Hook is the reason we're going to the underworld, but I really hope that we learn more. Like, I hope it goes on to, like, the Charmings and, like, we're in the underworld and it brings out more. Because so much, like you said earlier, like, not just bad people go to the underworld. It's people who don't have a destination yet. And so I think all our characters could develop because, like, the past could show up again and we could learn more about them and they won't be so boring.
Yeah. I'm happy that we left Camelot behind, for sure.
I think we all are.
I mean, I liked the idea of it, but
idea was great. The execution was poor.
It left something to be desired, and it really confused the story. And here again, it was sort of a storytelling opportunity that they had with Emma as Dark Swan that in some ways was realized very fully, but in other ways it just wasn't. There were missed opportunities. There were things that were, as Eddie has repeated me saying, and I've said, were a little boring, and that's a little bit disappointing to me, because if that piece of it doesn't pick up and they don't inject some freshness, because they are now at this point a late life show, and I don't think keeping it fresh means let's put 5,000 characters in it. Now, with that said, we already know that they're exploring a Beauty and the Beast backstory. We already know that Hercules is going to figure in very prominently. There's been casting notes about Hercules characters, and if we're going to the underworld, we're probably going to meet Hades, because he is in charge of the underworld.
So if they're going to follow the Disney movie, can we just see the 3 old ladies that cut the string?
The Fates.
The Fates. Can we just please, hopefully, if you're all listening, just please.
See, I would rather see the Pointer Sisters on the bass singing the songs.
Ooh, the Muses.
The Muses, yes.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. So we already know they're going to sprinkle in all of these characters, and now we've brought up there's going to be 100th episode. So
have we met Zeus?
No.
It would be interesting if we met Zeus.
That's a Hercules thing. I'm telling you, Hercules. Big Hercules story coming. And then Storybrooke, because Rumpelstiltskin et al. Are still back there. I don't know. I just hope whatever they do, it's not as convoluted. Because
that's how they get back. Zeus is going to save them all. Pull them out of the underworld.
I don't know about that.
I doubt it.
I don't know about that. What I do know is that they cannot go the Nikki and Paolo route, which I feel they're steadily heading toward. And if they do the Nikki and Paolo route by adding so many characters that there's with absolutely no interconnectivity into the larger story, they're going to lose the audience in a big way. And then the show is going to decline, and I'm going to get mad, and I'm going to be like on this podcast, once upon a time, you guys didn't learn from Lost. What are you doing to me? That's exactly how it will go. So, that being said, I'm excited to revisit some people. I know since Peter Pan's going to be back, I hope that they get to revisit some of those wacky family dynamics, because I never hated the Neverland arc. I know some people did. It was a little boring in parts, but I at least thought that one was very focused and had a very centralized story, and it actually developed our characters.
Well, and that was the first time they did the split season structure.
Exactly. So I really, which is another thing we talked about in our last podcast, is that we would like for less split season and more through line, and they didn't do that.
They didn't listen.
They didn't listen.
All right, shall I...
Go, Kristen.
Shall I explain my knowing looks that I've had this whole time?
Yes, please do.
Okay,
yes.
So, this is what I know for sure. Yes, the 100th episode is coming up relatively early in season 5B, and they do have something fun planned. It's not going to be a big musical episode or anything crazy extravaganza like that.
Yeah, they can't add music.
The muses would be perfect. There's the music.
Yes. So, for the episode, they do have some fun things planned, such as the return of Peter Pan, which you guys have already mentioned. Cora is also confirmed to be returning. And
she's got to be there. I mean, come on.
And Cruella de Vil is also returning.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, that makes sense.
So
she's in the underworld.
Yes. And that's been confirmed. So now my prediction is,
oh boy,
as these characters travel through the underworld to get to Hook, they are going to be tested and having to confront their own personal demons. Ooh. Emma is going to have to confront Cruella because that's the one person that she killed, and she kind of did it for not the best reason. So I think Emma is going to have to confront Cruella and what she did to her. And obviously Regina and possibly even Snow White are going to have to confront Cora, based on their treatment of her. Snow White essentially killed her. Something that's going to come back to haunt her because she still has that dark spot in her heart, even though her heart has been split in two to survive both her and Prince Charming.
Yeah, so that's my question. Is the dark spot on her half or David's half?
It's probably going to still be in her half because she's the one who actually committed it. Okay. That's just my guess. All and then obviously with Peter Pan coming back, as we know, that's Rumpelstiltskin's father. So I think there's going to be some unresolved issues with that as well. So these people are going to have to confront their own personal demons in order to get to Hook to bring him back. Also, Greg German, I believe is how you say his last name.
From Ally McBeal.
Yeah, he has been cast in a, quote, devilishly new role. So obviously the big speculation is that he is going to be playing Hades as the ruler of the underworld. So obviously he will be the big bad, I guess, of season 5B, and I think that's brilliant casting, and I can't wait to see how that all plays out. Also, yes, we will see some Hercules characters pop in. Hercules and Meg have both been cast by some very beautiful looking young actors and actresses. So we will probably get that mainly in a Hades backstory because they've only been confirmed for one episode. So they're not going to be major players. They're going to be more of a supportive nature. So that's everything that I know so far that has been 100% confirmed. Yes, this is happening. There are a few other rumors, but I don't think that they're worth really mentioning. There's nothing super concrete or mind-blowing behind that. But I think the characters fighting their own personal demons to progress through and face those challenges, just like, in the movie and in the legend, Hercules had to go through and...
He had to go the distance.
He had to go the distance to save the woman that he loved when she was sent to the underworld in the Disney version. So, I can definitely see our main characters, especially Emma, fighting through her demons to save the one that she loves as well. But yes,
she's gonna get left in the underworld.
I don't think so.
Oh god.
I don't.
Because Hercules went from zero to hero and didn't.
Yeah. I personally don't see the underworld lasting. Wow. I don't see the underworld lasting the whole time through 5B, but it definitely will not go into 6. Obviously, we're going to be going to a new destination for season 6. But I hope that the underworld is very well written. I hope that it's concise and it makes a lot of sense and it's not as convoluted as Camelot or the stupid Frozen arc was.
Actually, Frozen was pretty focused in comparison to
certain parts were focused. Just the writing was too synergistic with the movie.
Yeah, that was its major problem.
That was the major problem.
Forced.
It was too forced. Let me rephrase. I hope this one happens a little more organically, more purposeful. I hope there's not too many subplots. Obviously, we know we're going to have some flashbacks. We're going to have some Storybrooke plot lines. We're going to have some Underworld plot lines. And I think I'm going to be more excited for the Underworld plot lines with some of our favorite villains coming back. Cora has always been one of my favorites. I love Barbara Hershey, and I think her character was perfection. And I'm so, so excited that she's able to come back. So I'm looking forward to her most of all. And hopefully Zelena stays in Oz for a while.
We could go to Oz in 6.
Again?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Is Selena gone for this next half?
She's in Oz, that's all
she was transported back to Oz. It's not that she can't come back because she technically still is a season regular as far as I know, but it doesn't mean that just because she's a regular that she doesn't appear in the first half of this next arc.
Are we ever going to see Maleficent or Lily or August? Or...
I hope we see August. I really, really like August.
I wondered what happened to them. It bothered me a little bit because they just MIA, completely MIA.
Yeah, he came back for the one purpose and then he's gone.
Yeah, but with absolutely no explanation as to where.
Except unless he's living in his trailer in the woods or he's back with his father. You know, because he was transformed back into the little boy,
Right.
and now he's off being Pinocchio with Geppetto.
Correct.
Oh.
So technically the adult August that we know and love is not here anymore.
I didn't even remember that.
That's from the
I forgot about
That
that.
was
the Queen.
Class-
That was the
that's
Queens
Queen's
of Darkness, the 4B arc.
When they were in the cabin, right?
Yeah, yeah. So he's back to being his little boy
Because they turned him into August
to get his
to get-
memories.
to find the author's house.
Yep.
What about Maleficent and Lily?
I feel like they're off doing some mother-daughter bonding, and I'm really disappointed that they haven't brought them back. I liked the Maleficent character a lot. I thought Lily was such a great counterpoint for Emma, and how they both have to be there. It helps keep Emma light with Lily around. So I really hope that they revisit her.
Do you get the sense that they do the amnesia thing to put a hard stop to whatever story they're doing just so that they can switch gears? Because that's almost what I feel like. It's like, okay, we've gone along. They ended the Queen of Darkness arc with this focus on Lily and the pendant she had, and this is your father.
Well, let's go find your father.
Let's go find your father. And then, completely and totally abandoned. Not a mere mention of her at any point in the Camelot piece. And of course, a large part of the Camelot piece was they were spellbound into forgetting everything that happened for the last 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. Please, guys, don't do that again.
And that's what a lot of the viewing public has said, that you've done this 3 times now. Regina did it once, Zelina did it once, Emma did it once. That's enough. We don't need this anymore. We don't need the Dark Curse coming back for a 3rd time. Let it be and do something more creative. I mean, these are some of the most creative writers in the industry that they have working on the show, and I know that they can come up with something better.
And if you can't, then maybe you need to consider an ending point.
Yep.
Because that's what happened with Lost. 3
Once-
went off
yeah.
the rails, then the network basically came to them and said, okay, so we think that you should think about an end date. What do you think would be a good end date? And they sort of negotiated it,
Yep.
and they said, okay, you get 6 seasons. At the end of season 6, now run off, go play, plan it out. And once they had
the end date, it became so much stronger.
Yep, so much more focused.
Even
6
though
is
the
a whole
less-
discussion
Yeah.
for a whole other podcast.
Yep.
I'm sure we'll have one day. But at least we know seasons 4, 5, and to the extent that 6 was related to seasons 4 and 5, were all much more back on track than season 3.
Yes.
And I feel like they're setting themselves up for a similar conversation if they don't.
Are we comparing Once to Lost right now?
We are.
Okay.
And I think we have to, because the creators and producers are the same.
And a lot of the writing team is the same.
Exactly. And if they're repeating mistakes, at least Once Upon a Time is not the juggernaut that Lost was.
That's true.
Lost came with a whole lot of side baggage of elevated expectations and hype, and people were off speculating upon the speculations.
Yeah.
It was just this big, probably a zeitgeist that they couldn't control.
Because
And
again, they had so much creative opportunity to do these amazing things, and I feel season 3 was a derailment of that. And thankfully, Once has gotten past season 3, which is usually the make it or break it point for a lot of shows like this.
But I actually thought 3 was pretty strong.
3
but
3 was pretty strong overall.
Yeah.
But I think I agree with you. Oz was a little and Frozen was a little but they're on the upswing.
Okay.
And I think if they can continue their momentum into 5B, I think 5B has the potential to be a fantastic
I think
ending.
5B is where they need to start. They're so far out in the scope.
They
and I
need
think
to start-
5B is where they need to
narrow it
gradually
down.
start bringing it back in. Because if they're going to, eventually the show's going to have to end. I mean, I'd love to be talking about season 29 million someday. But, I mean...
I don't. That's too many.
I mean, if they're going to end the show the way that I think that would make us diehard fans who have stuck with it the right way, they're going to have to end it based off the core.
Yeah, they're going to need to start wrapping up some storylines with some extra characters, or at least give me an update how Cinderella's doing. I want to see what Ashley's been up to. It'd be nice
You think
to...
the wolf will come back in the sheriff from season
Sheriff
1?
Skinny Jeans.
Graham, Sheriff Skinny Jeans, he's done. He's not coming back.
I know, but still.
I just need them to remember their own continuity, because they have to remember that the fans are smart, the viewing audience is smart, they're keeping track of this stuff. That's what happened in Lost.
Yep.
You know, one of the biggest lost opportunities, in Lost, was them not acknowledging what the island was unless you ordered the season 6 DVDs and watched the extras. Mm-hmm. And they made the island too much of a character and then just said, well, it's really not a character. We're going to focus on the characters, and here's this crazy season 6. Don't do that, but also just remember that we love the characters and we want the characters to have, you know, a good beginning, middle, end of a story. Mm-hmm. I think the bigger problem is that they keep introducing new characters.
And they have such a good mix already in Storybrooke that they're not taking full advantage of. Exactly. And there's a lot of people who are in Storybrooke that we've never heard of, or we don't know who they are. They're just wandering in the background.
Or people that we've met in the past and we don't know what's going on with them. Mm-hmm. At the very least, if you're going to introduce a new story, give us, tell us where they've gone. If Lily's going to go find your father, go on a quest to find her father, go hang out with her mom, the dragon, then by all means, just say that, you know? Don't leave it hanging and then divert with a story device that you've used repetitively and not always successfully. I mean, I'd say 2 out of 3 times it didn't actually work.
The first time worked because it was the premise for the whole show.
Exactly. So that's my thoughts. Does anyone have any other thoughts about Season 5A, what they want to see in Season 5B, or Once Upon a Time in general?
All I have to say is the clock is ticking. The show's getting it's getting there. Their clock has definitely started on Season 5.
As far as
the way that television is now, is I definitely think Once Upon a Time is going to start getting looked at, that if they don't start doing something better, they're going to cut it. I would not, if 5B winds up being like how 5A is, I would not be surprised if they announce that Season 6 is their last season. If
maybe
not,
it's going to depend on the ratings.
And the ratings for Once are consistently strong for that time slot, for that demographic, and the broken season works very well in its favor. The DVR numbers are really good for Once. It's one of its strongest players that can be continuously counted on.
It's a bit of a juggernaut for the network.
It is, and it's a good moneymaker for them. And
it does promote their brand in a major way.
In a major way. Major way. I don't think Once will be on the chopping block unless the numbers start to decrease.
Yeah. And they're definitely going to get a Season 6 renewal. Whether or not Season 6 turns into 7, 8, 9, or whatever.
We don't know, but I think Season 6 is a very safe bet because a lot of the new shows that they have brought on did not stick.
Right. They've done a couple of cancellations, some of their newer... And ABC didn't really add a lot new to its schedule. Mm-hmm. It only had 4 cancellations last season, 2 of which I'm going to blog about in the future for those who want to check in on that. So they didn't really add much new, and I think they've only canceled 1 so far this season. So I don't see Once Upon a Time going anywhere. That being said, they could start to lose viewers in a major way, as any long-term show does. Grey's Anatomy still holds pretty good numbers, but not nearly the numbers it did when it...
Which is why it got moved to the 8 o'clock slot.
Correct. And Scandal and How to Get Away with Murder are set up against it. So there could be a jumping the shark point for Once Upon a Time. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Mm-hmm. I have jumped the shark on shows, but so far I'm still along for the ride. Mm-hmm. More of my points are mainly gripes. These are my gripes, not my I'm going to stop watching.
They're not major pitfalls or potholes in the show itself. They're just more, as a more sophisticated viewer that we are, because we do watch so much TV and we do enjoy the show so much. We're a little more critical than the average viewing audience. And the average viewing audience is their desired viewing audience. We're just kind of like the icing on top of the cake.
And we're a backseat riding a little bit. But at the same time, you know, when you watch a show and you can see all the different possibilities that happen, and they choose one, I mean, obviously the possibility that they choose is one of the options. You know, part of us as podcast panelists get to evaluate whether or not it works. Mm-hmm. And I think what we can agree on is Season 5A had parts that worked and had parts that didn't work, which is a little bit different than Season 4A, 4B, and all the past seasons combined.
But I feel like with their past history, since they have been doing the split season setup, more times than not, the second half of the season is much better than the first.
I agree.
Like Season 4A, except for 3. Mm-hmm. 3 Neverland was much stronger than Oz.
Yeah.
But with Season 4 4A was the weak point. 4B with the Queens of Darkness, I enjoyed that much, much more. And so I'm hoping, they've had some character development. They made some major advances that they needed to, not with the Charmings, but with a lot of the other characters. Now, let's continue to build upon that and put them in a bigger, higher stakes situation.
Especially with Emma. Maybe consequences from, she only really killed one person, and that wasn't, I don't think, when she was Dark Swan. That was before that.
It was before that happened, but it was still, again, she's still the savior. She's still light magic, and the fact that she did kill Cruella, when she really shouldn't have.
But maybe she'll encounter characters that will make her confront her poor choices as well.
Yeah.
So, well, with that said and talked about and discussed until we can discuss no more, literally, I want to thank Eddie, Kristen, and Amie for rejoining me on our Once Upon a Time podcast panel. For those of you who are fans of Once Upon a Time, you know that Once Upon a Time airs Sundays, 8 o'clock, ABC, and it will resume. It's currently on mid-season hiatus. It will resume early March. I think the date is the 6th. It's the first Sunday. It is the 6th. Yeah, March 6th is when Once Upon a Time returns, so we hope that you will tune in and keep watching the show. As for our panel, we will not reconvene until Season 5B has finished airing and Season 5 finale has aired and taken its bow. At that point, we'll reconvene and discuss that half of the season. So we hope you'll be joining us at that time. In the meantime, keep checking out the blog, keep checking out iTunes, keep checking out Stitcher Radio, keep checking out our YouTube channel, follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. We are covering all sorts of new shows all the time. We're revisiting other shows. We are the podcast for TV watching fans in general, so chances are you will find something that you like. Keep checking us out at couchpotatoesunite.wordpress.com to stay abreast of all the latest developments. Until that time, this is Kylie saying thank you for listening, keep watching, bye-bye.